Hey everyone, welcome back to another reaction video. Now, if you have more Fate content that you want to, like, that you have to help me understand the series better, go ahead and do that. I'm more thinking of doing a video about Noble Phantasms, because that is the one thing I'm familiar about with the Fate series. But onto this, while learning about Fate, I went and thought, what should I do about this? Subject. And that subject is Ben 10, because I finally, after some time, went in and looked into the fact that I have this on Netflix. And this being Ben 10. And I'm going like, oh man, it's been years since I actually seen the show. I'm going like, should I look into it? And that was my initial thought process. I'm going like, now that I think about, what do I remember about this show? And when I thought about it, I realized a couple things. One, there's multiple series of it. And I remember that the most recent one, where they tried to reboot the whole series with a 10-year-old Ben 10, is... And I know some people are just going to be a bit mad about what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to deny it. It's pretty freaking awful. You can't deny it! No, seriously, you can't really deny it. The new Ben 10 series that appears on Cartoon Network, in my opinion, is freaking awful. It's like disgracing the few things I remember about Ben 10. Which leads to the next thing. I remember when Ben begins being a teenager, the show got really good. And then I remember the fact that the timeline is freaking crazy and you can't really focus on a single point without there being some form of confusion. And this is why I want to do this. The entire story of Ben 10, because I barely remember it. I know that Ben has an Omnitrix. I remember that. And he can turn into any alien in the Watch. I barely remember the names. I barely remember the characters. All I know is there's Ben 10, and then he has an alien that's freaking God of everything. So, yeah. I think I need a recap. So, if you enjoyed this reaction video, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when a video comes out. And, with all this said, let's start this video. Ben 10's anniversary. Okay.
Hi, I'm Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Ben Tennyson.
This is Paul Lighting, the voice of Max Tennyson.
They got the actors?
The voice of Ben Tennyson.
Greg Sipes, the voice of Kevin Levin. And right now, that's how we do it. And this is Wingman G, the real-life Beast Boy. And you're watching the Ink Tank, babies.
Thanks for tuning into the Ink Tank.
Thanks for tuning into the Ink Tank.
I love working on Ben 10, and I wish they would do a Ben 10 animated feature film.
We had a great time working on that show.
That does sound cool.
Even the aliens.
I love being Ben, because I get to turn into whatever alien I want. At least, most of the time.
Don't touch my car. Enjoy the video, yo.
We hope you enjoy the video.
Hope you enjoy the video. It's hero time.
Going hero.
Bye, guys.
This is Max.
Huh.
This video is the completed, illustrated retelling of the entire history of Ben 10.
Okay.
The classic series all the way to Omniverse. The information will be presented chronologically, so you will see all flashback and time travel shenanigans play out in the order they would have happened in the natural progression of the universe. By the end, you should be well versed in the legacy that is the hero of heroes. I'd love to hear reactions from both longtime fans and new beginners of the show, and see if they can follow along. Now, let's begin.
Okay.
Released into the universe are the single-celled ancestors to all DNA, known as slimebiots. These sentient genetic species gather, carry, mix, and deposit DNA across the growing universe for eons to come.
So they leave the genetic structure into a planet for a certain species to live upon?
Gives birth to a genius that will become the smartest in many galaxies. Azimuth, a Galvan who at full height is only about 6 inches tall, soon begins to flourish his passion and learn alongside his mate, Zenith. His first grandiose
the gray matter.
Known as Primus. Obsessed with his own capability, Azimuth sought out to find a way to tap into the fundamental forces of the universe and control the laws of physics himself.
It's weird that...
Inspired by a alignment, Azimuth forged the Sword of Ascalon, a sword that wields such great power, one can't help but compare it to magic. This pushed Zenith away, with
Seriously?
too ignorant to care. However, the sword was stolen by a
sounds like energy, not magic.
To put an end to their constant world wars. This eventually led to the destruction of the incursion planet. Azimuth blamed himself.
I mean, I can't blame him for that, because it's not like he meant for it to be a weapon. But then again, he probably should have put some security protocols with it. Along with the fact of, I don't know, thinking for sure that someone would eventually go ahead and try to grab said frickin' weapon. I mean, come on, people. Someone hears a legend about something that gives you great power, and you're just gonna leave it out in the open? I mean, come on! Someone's bound to get it sooner or later.
After retrieving the sword, Azimuth was still longing to prove the sword's creation was valid. Eventually,
Why?
Azimuth visited a, quote, pathetic backwater planet he came across on his studies. Earth. Circa 11.
Okay, offensive, but whatever. He's an alien, so I guess that kind of makes sense.
Is defending his land from a cross-dimensional shape-shifting being.
How does he have immortality?
Enslaver of 100 different dimensions, and his army of demon Lacubras. To relinquish the assault, Azimuth offers the knight his sword if Sir George, the Roman soldier's current name, was worthy enough to wield it. Sir George indulges on Azimuth's offer, and engages in an epic battle, ending with George cutting out the heart of the Dagon, and leaving Ascalon buried within. As the Dagon's heart was the source of his power, George was then able to magically seal the Dagon away, freeing humanity from his reign.
Okay, so the guy knows magic too. Got it.
Sir George then founded the Forever Knights, vowing to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats and prepare for the Dagon's potential second coming. Azimuth sought out to right his wrongs by inventing something to represent peace instead of war, hoping that one day, his lost lover would notice. Eventually, Azimuth became antisocial and put himself in isolation on Xenon, and began developing the Omnitrix, which can transform the user into a multitude of alien species. Azimuth would continue to perfect his invention over time. In the 70s, George Washington is leading a secret organized branch of hunters dedicated to learning about and protecting the world from supernatural threats and rumors. A stranded Maltruant arrives here and receives aid from a young
the guy from the beginning, okay.
Vilgax helps Maltruant repair
Warlord.
and in return, Maltruant gives young Vilgax a Chronosapien time bomb. The two are soon intercepted by Ben and Rick time hopping once again, fight off young Vilgax and Maltruant with the help of George Washington. Seeing Ben transform from species to species inspired Vilgax's lifelong lust for this unique kind of power, as Ben unknowingly became the catalyst for his greatest foe. Washington cuts the anchor of Vilgax's ship, inspiring the tale of George Washington cutting down the cherry tree. This also marks the first recorded alien sighting on Earth. And you
know, that's kind of hilarious that they added George Washington into this in such a way.
Of the plumbers, meant to fix leaks in normal society. They create a headquarters hidden behind the faces of Mount Rushmore, a nod to their original members.
I think I remember that bit.
In 1952, an unnamed scientist working in a secret base of operations just outside of Bellwood is completing his work on a machine that uses quartz crystal to break a hole in the space-time continuum. The machine
I'm sorry, did they say corpse crystal or quartz crystal?
In 1962,
I didn't
Air Force
hear the word.
Turned astronaut Maxwell Tennyson saves the life of an energy being named Verdona from an android that aspired to use her as a power source. The two eventually start a family together.
Really?
Also present was an
they treated her like
why
draw her as a battery? Okay, fine, whatever. Your thing.
Of the intergalactic merger of said police
shape-shifting alien.
Galaxy-wide and operate as the definitive law
Okay.
for all galaxies under their
Makes me kind of wonder if anyone else on Earth is like that in Ben 10, but whatever.
An Osmosian named Devin Levin gave his life for Max, entrusting him to keep an eye on his son. We come to know this son's name as Kevin Levin, who was born with the power to absorb any kind of energy, matter, or DNA.
Yeah, that's someone I remember kind of well.
Kevin to control his abilities, and after accidentally destroying his family's home, he runs
that I did not know.
A few years pass, and Azimuth has finally finished the prototype version of his Omnitrix, and tasked one of Max's old love interests, Xylene, to transport.
Damn, Max king around.
Max Tennyson, for safekeeping.
And you can't say I'm wrong. That's all I'm admitting. He's been gang around with different females.
With a reputation,
Going like.
catches wind of these rumors, igniting his hunger to
Okay, yeah, that sounded weird. I'll admit.
And sets a course to intercept Xylene's mission and capture the Omnitrix for himself. A fight for the Omnitrix between Xylene and Vilgax's ship causes an explosion. This concludes with Vilgax suffering life-threatening injuries, imprisoning him on his own ship until he can properly heal. Xylene injects the Omnitrix into a pod locked onto Max's DNA. She herself falls into the Arctic, freezing her into a deep sleep for the time being.
The Arctic.
Back in Bellwood, Max Tennyson, now retired and living in a motorhome, decides to take his...
Yeah, I can see how that will be a good place to land. I mean, no one's barely around the Arctic, right? Frick. Wait, are they talking about... where in the Arctic are they talking about? Like the northern? Or they're talking about close to the North Pole or South Pole, which is technically Antarctica. It's confusing for me, okay? I don't remember the geological concept of the Earth
Through a series of events
on the top of my head.
learned were manipulated by greater forces. Ben finds himself crossing
The
paths
hell?
with a mysterious meteor that fell from the sky. The Omnitrix quickly attaches itself to Ben's wrist, igniting the legend of Ben 10, kid superhero that can change into 10 different alien forms.
Okay, can I see? It's been years, so I gotta remember this well. Forearms. It's him. Gray Matter. Diamond Head. Upgrade. Accelerate. Heat Blast. And yeah. Stinkfly. Yes.
Max has yet
3
to
out of 10.
reveal to his
7 out of
friends
10.
His alien hunting past.
Nice.
Uses his knowledge
Yes.
of alien
Victory.
life and combat training to help Ben master his powers. The trio spend the summer going from state to state.
I'll take
setting out
that.
to help out battle evil
7 out of 10. I'll take that.
they can. During a trip to New York, the gang eventually run into Kevin, who uses his abilities to absorb the DNA of Ben's aliens for him to use for his own selfish, psychopathic gain. A discharge from the Omnitrix sends Kevin into hiding, where he experiments more with the alien DNA he now has merged into his body. As their adventures continue, Ben starts to have visions of a mysterious onlooker, someone who has been spying on him and testing him by sending bounty hunters and alien drones. Vilgax's healing time has come to an end, and now with
Okay.
a much more powerful cybernetic body, Vilgax heads straight to Earth to
How
kill the
did they
Omnitrix
get a
himself.
cybernetic body?
Vilgax
ready for him,
successfully
like,
captures Ben, taunting him with
did
his
they-
plans of creating
did
an
they
army
replace
of
the-
Omnitrix warriors.
Did they replace his legs with robotic pieces and try to mend together whatever flesh and tissue he has, or did they combine cybernetic implants so that he could artificially heal and have synthetic skin and flesh? I don't know. I'm literally guessing here. I'm pulling strings.
Max reveals his history as a plumber to Gwen, and the two head to Mount Rushmore to gather more weapons to save Ben. Meanwhile, a power surge on Vilgax's ship
Honestly, I should stop
shifts Ben
pausing.
between
This is gonna be a
alien
while.
forms. A final assault between Ben, Gwen, and Max against Vilgax leaves him trapped on his exploding ship. Max agrees to open up to the kids
Okay.
about his secret life, and the three become stronger and closer together. As their summer adventures continue, the trio expand their capabilities. Max comes out of retirement and begins to refamiliarize himself with his old technology and weapons.
Fair.
Ben takes an interest in magic.
If you retire for a while, then you need to readjust yourself.
And Ben soon discovers
So she has
there are
magic,
more than
stole from
just
someone.
in the Omnitrix, and becomes a natural at many fighting styles. Vilgax eventually
Cannonball.
emerges under a
I
partnership
remember
with
that
Ben,
one,
who is
and
now
not because of the show. I remember it because of the old TV show.
Ben temporarily
Not the old
gains
TV show,
access
the
to
new
control
one.
of-
The new one. I saw it because I have a little sibling who was watching TV in a hotel we were staying at for a vacation. And that design looked freaking awful, and that just made me hate the new show even more. And this guy, I remember now. Yeah, I remember this design now. I gotta say that he was probably one of the more dangerous villains, if I was correct. Probably as or more dangerous than Vilgax, in all honesty, because because that kind of mutation, and considering the fact that I'm seeing multiple alien designs, yeah, kind of shows that Ben's fricked if she ever had to face him unprepared.
His Omnitrix. Max seals them both away in the Null Void, an alternate dimension made to inhabit the galaxy's worst criminals. On Max's 60th
Understandable.
Ben and Gwen are thrusted 20 years into the future by Gwendolyn, an adult version of Gwen, now a master of martial arts and magic. During this brief journey, Ben evaluates the arrogant and selfish behavior he develops as he matures into adulthood, and vows to make different choices as he grows. Ben and Gwen are returned to their time shortly after defeating future Vilgax.
Time travel.
Also arrives after she is
one of the most confusing
she reveals to
things that people have to bring into a series.
Worthy enough to keep it. At some point, Ben is yet again hurled into the future, this time only 6 years, during a chrono-randomization barrier error by 16-year-old Ben Tennyson. Ben then helps his future self in
so there's no defined time
after this event. Ben is
line
back to his time and recalls this journey
designated time.
Towards the end of the summer, the Omnitrix
okay, that's weird. So they
accidentally turned on during a battle.
So he doesn't know. So there's no knowledge of when Ben went to the future. Got it. Okay, let's.
To help Ben find the
that's.
Of the Omnitrix,
I was kind of curious.
As the destruction's power will destroy the entire universe.
On that subject, but whatever.
Trails them, intending to steal the Omnitrix once and for all, or force the creator to build him a new one. The gang finally meet Azimuth, who at first refuses to fix the Omnitrix as he believes the universe is doomed to destroy itself anyway.
Okay.
To save the universe, Ben battles Vilgax and his army one final time without use of the Omnitrix. This inspires Azimuth to put his faith in Ben as the future hope of the universe, and fixes the Omnitrix, unlocking one of Ben's most powerful forms in the process. Azimuth keeps an eye on Ben from that point forward, but for now, still refuses to give him the master control. Meanwhile, Earth,
probably a good idea.
Their plans for universal
Ben still seems young, and that might, you know, tempt him to do stupid stuff.
Ben and Gwen return to school. The disorientated dad of Azimuth soon visits and declares war on Ben after misinformation leads him to believe that Ben has killed Azimuth, and a Token Star battle in the middle of
Oh, Kaiju Battle! Is it weird that Way Big reminds me of,
with the aliens taking up camp below
of Ultraman?
Over time, these camps would form a city of their own.
Because the honest, that alien does remind me of it.
Ben unlocks a new transformation named Feedback and quickly becomes addicted to using him. Meanwhile, in the Null Void, Kevin finds himself in a plumber-operated prison and meets Quarrel, a wise inmate with knowledge of Cartesians. He helps Kevin learn to control his which was the trigger of his initial mutation. The more energy and osmosis it absorbs, the more insane they become. To combat this, Kevin learns to absorb matter instead, creating a suit of armor with whatever material he touches. Quarrel helps Kevin escape by sacrificing.
I'm looking at these aliens while I'm
prison warden, who has a deep hatred for criminals.
Doing this.
This memory haunts him through his early teens. Still trapped.
Feedback. Oh yeah, and I also just found the stuff for the original aliens. Apparently there was Ripjaws, Wild Mutt, Ghost Freak, then there was an Upchuck, and Wildvine, something called a Ditto. Weird, but okay. But, okay. Feedback. Okay, here we go. Talking about design. Electrokinesis, light. Feedback has the ability to absorb and redirect energy attacks, most commonly electricity. This ability is refined to the point that feedback can redirect any type of energy an infinite amount at near point blank range. He absorbs energy through the plugs like conduit conductors on his antennas, tails, and fingers. Feedback can also absorb energy out of living beings as seen. And who are these characters? Basically, he can absorb any type of energy. From what I'm seeing. That is actually pretty freaking cool. So, he can absorb any type of energy.
Kevin is found and recruited by Proctor Cervantes.
And from what I'm seeing, he can absorb magic?
Cervantes was a corrupted scientist who frequently
now I can see why he could. Now, why he's Ben's favorite. Because that kind of ability seems broken as hell.
Key to achieving his dream, and uses Kevin's powers to experiment on himself and a new team of children, creating the Rooters. After a period of training, the Rooters are sent to Earth.
So the guy looking for peace is making children soldiers. Child soldiers? That's pretty hypocritical.
Once again into the null void. With his new friend by his side, Kevin and Argent wander the null void. They eventually find a way out, and after a few scandals as traveling con artist partners, agree to go their separate ways. On Galvan Prime, Azimuth has moved back to his homeworld and becomes their first thinker. During the creation of the Galvanic Mechamorph, a species of sentient blobs of nanites that can possess and enhance machinery that live on Galvan Prime's moon, named Galvan B, one mechamorph was made incomplete, which corrupted both his biomass and his sanity. His name was malware. Azimuth worked to develop a
upgrade. Got it. Corrupted upgrade.
It was deemed a failure. Malware became hostile and attempted to cure himself by kidnapping Albedo, one of the assistants of Azimuth, forcing him to develop a cure. This only mutated and corrupted Malware further. Malware then planned to absorb the Omnitrix and use its power to perfect his form. He steals an incomplete blueprint from an altercation with Ben, and begins working on an Omnitrix duplicate with a scientist known as Dr. Psychobos.
Incomplete blueprint.
They are in need of DNA samples to
this Albedo guy made
and enlist the services of
him
the Huntsman,
even worse.
From the predators of Ben's aliens.
Probably made him insane, but whatever.
And in an effort to
I guess.
Rips feedback out of Ben's and him, destroying Ben's ability to transform into him. Malware, Dr. Psychobos, and Kyber then spend the next 5 years collecting DNA samples for what they will eventually call the Nematrix. Heartbroken by the loss of feedback, Ben eventually has the Omnitrix.
Oh, that's cold.
4 years
they just ripped that alien out of him? That
living a normal life, playing sports and drinking smoothies.
I don't know, that sounds like mentally and physically tasking and probably harmful. Okay, so I need to say some stuff here. Apparently, she doesn't know that her grandmother's an alien. Sounds like something you need to bring in due to the fact that the parents probably know about aliens and all that. Also, the scientist became like a person that can manipulate time and space. That sounds like something you gotta consider that's really important. And now we have this, Alien X. Yeah, this is the one alien I do remember. It's, yeah, basically multi-dimensional god.
Later, after a distress call from the Null Void by one of the allies Ben has made, he discovers that Max has yet again escaped the clutches of death.
Oh, really?
Grenade ended up transporting him to this dimension, where he has began an uprising against the dictator persona of Dr. Animo, known as Devoid. Ben assists the rebels.
Wait, how did that happen?
Refuses to leave, as he believes there is still work left for him to do there, but promises to return one day. Now,
no, seriously, how did they get him?
But by choice, Ben prepares for war.
How?
The war officially begins with the fall of Galvin Prime. The homeworld
No, seriously, how
Paradox then set things into motion.
did a personality from someone came alive in a different dimension?
Plans to extinguish all life they deem impure, which is any race that is not their own, is in full effect.
Okay, so they're the ultimate racist. Got it.
Participate in the war, as the Omnitrix is too valuable to risk losing. But after realizing that nothing will stop Ben from fighting, he grants Ben access to the Master Control, the full powers of the Omnitrix that he had only experienced once before. Ben fights his way to the Hybrid Control Tower, only to find that the true Hybrid Supreme Council is located on their home planet. Max triumphantly returns with his own team to give Ben the fighting chance to make it to the Supreme Council. There, it is revealed that the hybrid race is actually dying, and they intend to wipe out the galaxy along with them. On a whim,
okay, sure. We're dying! So if we're gonna have to die, everyone else has to die with us too. Since it's not fair that we decided to frickin' do whatever we did. Did they say inbreeding? I didn't hear. But seriously? That is why they're doing this. Oh no, we did this one thing that's killing us. Whatever shall we do? Oh wait, I know. We don't want to be the first ones to die in this universe right now or something like that. So why don't we kill everyone else? Because if we can't have our free will and all this, no one should, and they should die first so that we could be proven to be the superior race and all that. Freaking a-holes, I swear.
Giving them a second chance at life. With the war ended and Ben
I mean, that's cool and all, but
the hybrid returned home.
I'm still a bit annoyed that they decided to go that path.
Says his goodbye to Ben, who has yet
honestly sounds irresponsible as frick.
Ben's new heroic status starts to cloud his judgment and fuels his ego. Months later,
yeah, that would explain.
Follower, Siphon, Vilgax issues a Conqueror's Challenge, a law galactically enforced that allows the opposer to challenge that planet's greatest hero, with the champion obtaining ownership of the planet upon victory. Vilgax has done this to 10 other worlds, including his own home planet, which has now been renamed Vilgaxia, redeeming his status as a banished criminal to a respected leader and warrior. With his 10 victories, Vilgax now wields many new powers and weapons. To ensure victory, Kevin and Ben attempt to hack the Omnitrix after Azimuth refuses to help Ben after the Hybrid War gave Ben a much more arrogant personality.
Okay, what?
Breaking the Omnitrix, releasing some of Ben's aliens into the world.
Okay, both sounds like idiots at this moment. I can understand not helping Ben because of the fact he became more arrogant. And this might just fill up his ego and all that. But the least you could do is like give him one alien that he can freaking use, that he knows the best. I admit, the guy is stupid for trying to hack the Omnitrix. That's literally sounds like the dumbest thing ever. Considering that it had a freaking self-destruct and he could have possibly reactivated something like that. Honestly, he doesn't really deserve help from Azimuth for that kind of stunt. But the least he could have done, just to avoid this thing, would be to give him one alien at least. At least one that he would consider himself to be an alien that Ben knows the ins and outs of.
And permanently mutating Kevin for a second time. The trio work together to recapture Ben's missing aliens, but the Omnitrix remains broken. The challenge begins. Ben appears to be a perfect match for Vilgax's new powers, until Vilgax gets the
Okay, you didn't even need to do the hacking!
Suddenly, Ben's broken pieces begin to reform into another transformation, Diamond Head, one of his original 10, and promptly defeats Vilgax. As time goes on,
okay, so my idea was solid, and no one really thought of it? Gosh damn. Hindsight's 20/20 after all.
Trio, eventually teaming up with Azimuth's ex-assistant, Albedo. After a failed attempt to recreate
how do you go?
After he was deemed unworthy, Albedo was accidentally genetically altered, now resembling a warped Ben Tennyson. The two agreed to an alliance to retrieve the Omnitrix from Ben. Albedo would use the Omnitrix to cure himself, and Vilgax to rule the galaxy. Albedo eventually stole an Omnitrix core from Azimuth to complete the Ultimatrix, a device that can turn Albedo into Ben's aliens, and then evolve them into their ultimate form. The two capture Gwen and Kevin and threaten execution unless Ben hands over the Omnitrix. Ben complies, and Vilgax uses the Omnitrix to power his Bioid army, finally achieving his dream of commanding an army of Omnitrix users.
Yeah, that sounds actually awful.
Keeps the Omnitrix for himself. As Vilgax begins his reign over the galaxy, Ben activates the self-destruct on his Omnitrix via voice command, telling Vilgax that the Omnitrix will destroy itself if he does not give it back to Ben. Vilgax believes Ben is bluffing and lets the Omnitrix explode, destroying it for good. Ben swipes the ultimate to once again
you don't think he would bluff?
Into his aliens, but
considering that you're threatening war, who would bluff?
The ocean, where Vilgax unleashes his true form.
Oh, maybe I would.
Be defeated by Ben using ultimate swamp fire.
Okay.
The
concept of ultimate aliens does sound really cool.
The original experiment is what kept Kevin in his mutated state. Armed with new abilities, the trio's journey continues. On Osmos 5, home planet of the Osmosian race, a tyrant named Agrigor sets out to absorb the powers of 5 special alien species, which would give him the power to survive the treacherous journey to collect all 4 parts of the map of infinity. Agrigor captures the aliens and makes his way back to Osmos 5, where he will absorb their powers through a special machine. The alien prisoners revolt and crash land on Earth, each going their separate ways. Off the coast of the ocean, Vilgax washes up and is found by bystanders. Too weak from his previous battle, he cannot return to his normal form and can barely move. He is unable to.
Damn, Ben must have fricked him up.
As a sideshow until he is discovered by a member of the Flamekeeper Circle, run by a man named Conduit Edwards. The Flamekeeper Circle is a religious charity organization at face value, but in secret, worship an ancient being known as the Dagon. They believe that humanity was started by aliens, and that the Dagon would one day return to Earth for a second coming of enlightenment. And it just so happens that Vilgax bears a passing resemblance to him. Members of the Circle are known as the Esoterica, and as worshippers of the Dagon, have the ability to phase in and out of dimensions.
Okay.
And powerful demonic energy. Vilgax, accepting his false identity as the Dagon, is cared for.
How do they think it's him?
Life seems to have fallen into repetition.
Wasn't the Dagon some kind of dragon, a squid, or octopus?
Bringing him a lot of unwanted attention in the media and his personal life. The trio tracked down the leak to a low-class child
sounds
named Jimmy Jones.
Weird.
Deduced Ben's secret himself. He tips them off about an alien stealing pieces of a nuclear.
No, that sounds weird. Why would he be mad about having his identity revealed? Wouldn't he, like, kind of be happy about it? Then again, it might be something else.
Agrigor always had the upper hand and recaptured the aliens for himself, completing his mutation as Ultimate Agrigor. The following battle.
Okay, now the ultimate thing sounds a little dull.
Stranding him on Galvin Mark II while he heals.
I mean, are we gonna say that we're gonna have an ultimate Gwen
Infinity.
And Ultimate Kevin.
Ultimate Agrigor in the trio
Oh,
begins.
Ultimate Max with a giant mech suit that can kick butt 24/7.
And builds the map of infinity, which grants him access to the Forge of Creation.
That sounds actually kind of funny.
Alien X are born.
Why would you?
Paradox brings them to the Forge's entrance, where Ben accidentally entangles himself with a chrono-randomization barrier, pulling his 10-year-old self out of the timeline for a team-up of generations. The two Bens, Gwen and Kevin, battle Ultimate Agrigor on the palms of a giant celestial sapient mother. Agrigor plans to absorb its child and obtain omnipotence.
I'm kind of curious how they didn't actually tick one of them off.
Just as he is about to succeed, Kevin sacrifices his sanity and absorbs the powers of Ben's Ultimatrix, creating Ultimate Kevin, and defeats Agrigor by...
Oh my gosh, I had to jinx it.
The overwhelming power immediately drives Kevin mad, and the trio is temporarily broken. Paradox takes young Ben back to his own timeline, allowing him to recall these events as a dream, so Ben can faintly remember a future where they were once best friends. Kevin's involuntary betrayal drives a wedge between Ben and Gwen. Gwen continues to support the idea that Kevin has changed, and they should save him no matter what. Ben disagrees, saying Kevin is obviously too far gone, and they should kill him before anyone else gets harmed by him.
I mean, both have a valid reason on why they should do it.
Friends and enemies alike, including the
help him or kill him. They both have a valid reason.
Who helped him escape. With the help of sometimes enemy Darkstar and Cooper Daniels, a technopath.
Not that I'm saying I support the killing thing, but I can understand the reason behind it.
Kevin to see reason, which fails. Ben engages
okay,
in battle.
that
nearly die at different points. Darkstar and Cooper finalize a device that can kill powered by the remains of the Dominus Librium, an ancient energy-conducting artifact believed to be of alien origin. With Kevin cured, the trio reunited, and Max finally healed from his injuries. All seems well in the world.
Anticlimactic, but in a good way?
Their ancient tradition of finding and exploiting alien technology come across an old seal bearing their symbol that they believe to be a weapons vault. They crack open the vault, but it is too strong to break open entirely, and lets loose a creature that starts wreaking havoc on Bellwood. This gains the attention of the trio, who work with the Knights to track down the creature. When found, the creature leeches onto Gwen, embedding itself into her mind, temporarily controlling her. The trio free her,
damn,
with new memories, revealing the creature to actually be a demon that feeds off of prayers called a Lacubra, a servant of a great being named the Dagon. What they broke was actually a seal that was keeping the beast away, and now he is slowly breaking free again. The broken seal also alerts an old man from the senior center known simply as George, who begins to make his way to the seal. Confirming
George?
His quest to slay the Dagon begins once more.
Oh, Sir George.
And teleports the entire base onto the side of a mountain and
why
Area 50?
Nope, nope.
Meanwhile, the trio is
don't open that can of worms.
Ultimate Ben, another version of Ben's future. Ben realizes that every time he meets his future self, his future will change, but for now, this future comes with the power to access his transformations while in human form. They arrive to
okay, so this means that
evil Time Walker who has been
if Ben meets his future self,
although they later find that this
then
is as he is in fact recruiting them for his own personal
that future will no longer be a possibility. It'll be something else completely different.
Their universe's version of the hands
okay.
Which is said to exist simultaneously in every possible universe.
I suppose that's fair enough.
Ultimate Ben returns to the future after giving Ben's Ultimatrix new transformations, and Paradox warns Ben to beware a man named Old George.
Ominous.
Old George hails a meeting at Area 51 with the leaders of each faction of the Forever Knights, who have all had their own run-ins with Ben over the years, and proclaims that the Knights must carry out their true order, exterminating all aliens on the planet. He upgrades the Knights with advanced armor and weaponry, with special vehicles to complement. The Purge.
How does he know this?
Is kicked off with the death of Pierce Wheels, one of Max's students. Ben puts an end to the Purge, but later finds that the entire event was to re-obtain the Sword of
that probably is gonna open a bad can of worms.
George was able to calculate where the fortress would appear next, and using his notes, Gwen and the gang follow closely behind. At the fortress, George and the trio are both met by Vilgax, who were brought by the Flamekeeper Circle. Still thinking Vilgax is Dagon, they aim to reunite.
Seriously, how did they do that?
Gain his full power.
How do they think
Battle between the Esoterica and the Forever
that
Knights Vilgax grabs hold of Ascalon and is rejuvenated back to his land form, now powered by the sword. He then hears the voice of the real Dagon, telling him he is aware of his shenanigans, but will actually grant him ultimate power if he becomes his servant, and go back to the seal and finish breaking it to set Dagon free. Vilgax agrees and heads towards the seal. With the trio and
okay, that sounds
fails to fully break it and is instead
too suspicious.
Leaving Ascalon behind. Old George reunites with Ascalon and is restored to his youthful strength. Old George says the Dagon is his mission, and the trio agree to back off for now and see if Old George can handle it on his own. A few weeks later, the trio investigate.
They probably can't. He probably can't.
Find no one there. They find that they have rallied around the seal with an army of Esoterica to help free Dagon once and for all. The Forever Knights, led by Sir George, stand against the Esoterica. As hundreds upon hundreds of knights in Esoterica break into an all-out war.
Does he have a squire?
George's squire, so Sir George kills Conduit Edwards, with Edwards still proclaiming his loyalty to the great Dagon with his last dying breath. Ben soon finds and joins George in battle.
How is this a kid's show? This actually seems like a cool show for teens and adults.
They fight against Vilgax's new form, but appear evenly matched. As the seal cracks even more, Dagon's power is released onto Earth, turning every living being on the planet into Esoterica. Aside from George and the trio, who were protected by Gwen. However, the seal still isn't fully broken. Unsatisfied with Vilgax as his servant, Dagon reconnects with Gwen through a bug he implanted in her during the Lucubra incident, and forces her to break the seal. Gwen succeeds, and Dagon
that's
the universe.
Creepy.
Dagon towers over them in a godlike prestige, and does battle with the trio.
I thought he was a dragon, not
defense against humanity. The Dagon turns George into dust, ultimately defeating him.
Wait. Hold on. Hold up. Hold the phone. I thought he was a dragon. I guess he can change forms, I guess. Or the dragon was described because of its fierceness, but in actuality, this was his real form. So, basically a misconcept of history, I guess. Also, Ultimate Waypick looks like frickin' Ultraman.
As all hope seems
no one can deny that.
Actually, Vilgax, who was planning for this the whole time, who defeats Dagon by absorbing his power into himself, the same way he stole power from the other 10 worlds he conquered. Against the Dagon-powered Vilgax, Ben wields the Sword of Ascalon himself, and fulfills George's destiny by putting an end to Dagon's power, forever. Ben absorbs the Dagon's power into the sword, and armed with the Ultimatrix, Vilgax proclaims Ben as a god and urges him to use his power to reshape the universe any way he wishes. Tempted by nigh omnipotence, Ben refuses the power, and returns the sword to Asmith. Asmith is impressed by Ben's growth since becoming more arrogant after the hybrid invasion, and deems Ben worthy of the new, completed Omnitrix.
Actually sounds pretty cool.
The trio slumps back into the usual hero time charade, until Gwen reveals that she is accepting a scholarship to go to college early, and Kevin is with her, breaking up the Alien Force team. Max sends a freshly graduated Plumber Academy student, Rook Blanco, to be Ben's new partner.
That's actually heartbreaking.
They begin working out their differences, fighting crime in the underground city known as Undertown, formed from the alien camps that helped rebuild Bellwood back in 2007. They come across a
so they've been building a city for 5 whole years?
The creators of the universe.
Yeah, that sounds actually a reasonable amount of time for it to be made.
In a ragtag fight for the Annihilarg against other foes, the device is accidentally activated, eradicating everyone and everything.
Are you kidding me? Why?
Who protects himself as Alien X. Finally starting to master his power, Ben uses Alien X to create a new universe to replace his old one, although it is not an exact duplicate, and so far, no one aside from Ben believes this actually happened. After 5 years, Malware finally continues his pursuit against Asmith. Kyber is sent to hunt down and capture Ben with his beast, now armed with the DNA of predators.
Okay, so he's starting to understand.
Nemetrix. Combating species who were naturally born to fight Ben's aliens against a skilled huntsman strengthened the bond between Ben and Rook, becoming true partners. But even with their team, Malware has successfully upgraded himself enough to launch an attack on Galvin Mark II. They begin by destroying their moon, Galvin B, disabling all of the mechamorphs present. Malware continues to evolve himself using Galvin Mark II's resources and transforms into a giant. Ben struggles to defeat giant Malware and gets absorbed into him, and has an existential realization with his younger self. This revelation restores Ben's old transformation feedback into his new Omnitrix.
Dope.
And becomes the catalyst that puts an end to Malware once and for all.
So,
the adventures of
he has 3 overpowered aliens.
From the incursion invasion,
that's dope.
From permanently stealing the brain of Asmith, and liberate the Anur system from the evil clutches of Lord Transil. Paradox returns once more with a warning that the entire multiverse is at stake, as Eon and Vilgax have teamed up and have been time-traveling together for years, putting together an army of evil Ben Tennysons for a war.
Okay, that sounds awful as frick.
Where one of the Bens
how did 2 of them meet?
Because the Omnitrix never even existed here. That universe is then targeted by the evil Bens, only for Ben Prime to swoop in and save him. Ben and alongside Ben 23, Gwen 10, and Ben 10K. Another version of Ben's future that has the power to fuse his transformations together to protect No Watch Ben from Vilgax and Eon's.
Okay, that is awesome. Fusing different aliens together, freaking awesome. But does that mean that he is no longer the certain future that Ben will have? Because, honestly, it does sound like
army.
That.
The battle's true purpose was a distraction, allowing Vilgax to activate his Chronosapien time bomb and erase every single universe and timeline from existence.
What?
All except for No Watch Ben, who Ben Prime bequeaths his Omnitrix to seconds before being erased himself. Paradox takes this Ben on a journey to restore the timeline, revealing that it was those two that manipulated the events of Ben Prime's timeline for Ben Prime to receive the Omnitrix in the first place. No Watch Ben also helps Paradox
actually kind of cool.
For battle, but is left behind when the war starts again. No Watch Ben.
So it's a weird mix of Ben. The mirror, so it's a weird mix of people playing with reality, messing with reality to set things straight, seeing that he's the only one that could use it, and the fact that of everything his grandpa did when he was a plumber. That's actually kind of cool, in all honesty.
He enters his universe shortly after the time bomb went off, but now has a better understanding of the Omnitrix and the responsibilities of a hero. Using Clockwork, he reverses the effects of the time bomb and restores the multiverse. Ben returns the Omnitrix to Ben Prime.
I have to say that Clockwork might be his second strongest alien.
Back in Ben Prime's dimension, Ben is put on trial by the Celestial Sapiens for illegally recreating his universe
sounds pretty freaking cool.
Which violates the Multiversal Preservation Act. The court eventually rules Ben guilty, but by using the Tetraman trial of combat, agrees to fight.
Wait, what would happen if he actually was found guilty? Would they destroy the universe?
Full control of Alien X and defeats the Galactic Gladiator, clearing his name. With the entire universe now aware of what Ben has done, Cervantes finally returns after realizing that the dangerous threat known as Ben Tennyson has put the Omnitrix back on. He restores Kevin's childhood memories of being the Rooters' main assassin, prompting Kevin to do the same to everyone.
Yeah, sure. Justifying child soldiers. Classy.
Else who had lost their memories. A charade of events lead to Ben, Gwen, Arthur, Rook, Kevin, Alan, Helen, and Manny, all in the Rooters' headquarters located in the Null Void. Cervantes physically takes control of the Amalgam Kids, but is unable to do so to Kevin, who he instead corrupts by taunting him about Ben ruining his childhood and imprisoning him.
Okay, that's not even fair.
Turns on the team and joins Cervantes.
That's not even his call.
Between them, leaving Kevin permanently scarred on his chin. Kevin surprises everyone by revealing that ever since his last mutated incident, he has gained control over his powers and was faking insanity the entire time to get close to survival.
Oh, okay, that's actually dope. Oh man, I'm crazy. Nah, I'm joking, everyone. I'm not crazy at all. I was just doing this to get closer and beat the bad guy. Tails all this time. So kind of risky in all honesty.
Lots of time-traveling events lead to Ben and Rook teaming up with Ben's future son, Kenny, and Skurd, a slime
okay, so
that found his way
for sure, he's not going to be a
for
sure timeline.
Their goal is to prevent maltreatment.
Honestly, that might just break up the timeline even more.
All the way to adulthood. Now 36 years old, Ben is fighting to stop Maltruant from building his own corrupted Annihilarg, and travel back to the beginning of time to remake his universe in his image. As a gift from Paradox and Ben 10K, Ben and Rook use special time cycles to follow Maltruant into a literal race against time. They temporarily knock Maltruant outside of the time vortex, stranding him on Earth in the
okay, definitely not going to be the timeline Ben's going to have, but okay.
Young Vilgax, who agrees to repair Maltruant's carriage in exchange for the Chronosapien time bomb. Ben and Rook arrive to battle them with George Washington. Vilgax is inspired to dedicate his life to obtaining the Omnitrix, and Maltruant makes his escape back into the Vortex. They arrive at the beginning of time to find themselves face with a Contumalia ship, and are met by the three multiversal gods before them, who take the shape of your heart's desire so you can physically perceive their fifth-dimensional forms. Maltruant arrives not long after, and activates
they must be freaking powerful to be able to do that.
To cut through the Contumalia's chamber, but Ben has no choice but to dive in after the Annihilarg as a last-ditch effort to save the universe.
Whoa.
Hope prevails, and using the power of all of his transformations, Ben contains the Big Bang and fires
but
it into
shouldn't feedback be able to do that anyway?
Ben and Paradox to hide across the multiverse, with Maltruant destined to repeat his failure over and over again.
A fate worse than death. Yeah, that's actually kind of deserving for the guy that tried to freaking mess up the timeline and all that.
Witness the true birth of their own reality. The Annihilarg is placed into the chamber and sent into the endless void. From there, the Universe Prime is But the story doesn't have to end there. This entire video was made to guide you through Ben Prime's legacy as a testament to my passionate belief that Ben 10 has many more stories to tell, and I invite you to check out my own rendition of the series called 5 Years Later. 5YL is a crossover continuation of Ben 10, written and illustrated by myself, with additional artwork, design, and story input from fellow Ink Tank members O.R. Ash and Hershey. Like Ben 10,
I might actually look at this in my own personal time.
But many fans have agreed that our work was able to help bring back the magic of the original franchise, and I hope that our work can do for you.
Oh whoa, he works with Danny Phantom?
Thanks for watching.
Nice.
Stay up to date with everything going on my social medias, and join the Discord to talk to other passionate fans. You can also get weekly updates on 5 Years Later on Patreon for only $1 a month. And don't forget to check out our second...
Yeah, I'm not gonna go over that kind of stuff. You want to see it? You're gonna have to check out the original video. Okay, this whole timeline, biggest confusing thing I've ever had to deal with for a while, but it seems pretty cool nevertheless. Well, not technically most craziest thing I have to do in a while. The Fate thing was pretty crazy, but also really cool as well. Basically, this is something that I never expected to cover. But then again, making sure I remember the timeline is something I kind of bring myself in, because Omniverse was the last series I saw of Ben 10. Then I heard the reboot. I know for that for sure. But then, never considered watching it till, again, I did once, and it was not to my appeal. It was not my, cup of tea. I just didn't like it, okay? I just didn't like it. But this was a great review of everything involving Ben 10. Though I do think the last version of Future Ben won't be his real future. In all honesty, the words of the fact of every time Ben meets his future self, it's going to change. So I don't see how it's possible for that to be his future self anymore. In all honesty, that just means that Dunzo, that's not going to be his future. Though it does leave questions for me on what's his future going to be like. I wish we get like an actual 10 years later or something like that, because I don't know, it just seems like something that would be really cool to see. Talk about who's Ben's gonna marry and all that. That'd be pretty cool. We get like this one big special where Ben has to beat this foe and all that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a possibility that could happen. But again, depends on the creators of the show. But yeah, with all this said, hope you all enjoy this reaction video. It's a long one, and I hope you all enjoy it. Hit the like button if you did like it. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content for it, and so on and so forth. If you have any videos you would like to recommend, or any comments you want to make about the story of Ben 10, leave it down in the comment section below. I'm probably pushing it on the time limit, so we gotta make this quick. Because there's no amount of editing that I can do to make this shorter. And hit the notification button to be notified immediately when the video comes out. And again, give it up for the ink tank for this whole illustrated review of the whole Ben 10 story. Give it up for them. They out there themselves with this. So again, hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!